Hello and welcome to Tamar and Natalie's Magic Carpet Ride. Today we're riding not into the future, not into the past, but into the body. We're going to talk about what is it that you are here to create, because we've just had a little discussion about how common it is to meet people, especially light workers or light beings or people who are highly spiritual, empathic, sensitive people who don't know what they're here to create. And it creates great frustration and angst in a lot of people because they have a desire to create something, but they don't know what that is. Mm-hmm. So let's open this one up. We're going deeper into the body. Last time we talked about opening the treasure chest and the heart. This goes deeper down into the pelvic, the reproductive area of the body, where the seeds of creation lie. So, Tamar, do you want to just share a little bit about the quandary that you see people in around not knowing what to create?
Well, it could take two forms. It's either not knowing what to create. Like I'm in touch with a lot of light workers who feel that they feel called, but they don't know to do what. It's like a calling. It's supposed to be a very clear, like, knock on the head by God. Hello, you're supposed to do this. Now do it. It's like being given your marching orders. Everyone wants to be told exactly what my purpose is, what my mission is, in a way that is doable, not just some vague, airy-fairy, like you're supposed to bring more light to earth. Okay, great. How do I do it? What does that mean? Could you be a little bit more specific?
Mm-hmm.
Now, so there are a lot of people who just say, I don't have a clue. I just know I have this longing to do, to share, to help, to give, to contribute, to be part of this. They know they're here to help change the world. That feels really clear in many people, even without knowing how. And part of this is because a lot of people, for various reasons, childhood, what we've experienced, what we've been conditioned by, what we've been brainwashed to believe about ourselves, we don't feel that we have anything worthy. A lot of people really just don't feel worthy. Well, I'm not really talented enough at anything. I'm not good enough at anything. Or I'm just a little bit, I dabble in this or I dabble in that, or, but I don't think it's good enough to put out there. So now I just want to say, since I'm one of those kind of off the charts sensitives who's been scared of being fully incarnated most of my life, being on planet Earth is pretty damn scary if you're sensitive, because you do get trampled underfoot. It's not just a fear, it really happens. It really happens often in early childhood, and that's enough to just, say, okay, not safe, I'm just going to pull back. I'll watch from the sidelines, or I'll just be minimally involved here. And a lot of people, they're always saying, I want to go home. How many times have you heard spiritual people saying that? And it's understandable. Of course we would rather be in a place that we feel would really, be conducive to the vision of beauty, harmony, love, bliss, joy that we all would prefer to live in, right? So it's like we're just too sensitive to be in this difficult world, this difficult reality. And it's a paradox, because these sensitive people, these sensitive souls who are light workers, are here for a reason. We are all here to play a role in a really major event or transformational time. One of the things I call it is being on the transition team. And I say, we all volunteered. The call went out and we all said, oh, pick me. I want to be part of that.
And now we're going, oh my God, why did I say yes to that?
Exactly. What was I thinking?
Yeah.
Why didn't anybody tell me it was going to be like this?
totally. What was a disaster I was actually stepping into? My goodness. And yeah, you're right. It's been, certainly for me as well, it's been a harsh world to live in, and that makes us either toughen up or retreat. And usually both in different ways, you know. And so there's a lot of sensitive people now having to drop the toughness, like to dissolve that armoring, because now is the time for us to share those gifts and be the sensitive people we are, because that is what the earth is calling for. So yeah, but you know, these people, and I've been one of them in my 20s, you know, I was so driven to find out what my soul purpose was. And I found it extremely frustrating to be in a job that I was good at, but my heart wasn't in it. I knew it wasn't why I was here, and I was waiting for, you know, the answer to fall from the sky, like you said. And it never really did. However, what started to change for me was when I studied psychosomatics, and I became way more connected to my body and started to realize I had a body, and anchor my feet on the ground and go, oh, there is a purpose for this body. This is my vehicle for my soul's purpose. So if I don't have a vehicle, I'm not doing anything. I'm not able to create anything at all. So it was only then that I started to sense, oh, okay, I can start to feel in my body, this is why I'm here. And that's when I slowly started to put together my business, Sacred Business, and the creator types were born, and, you know, more and more is born from this body as I connect to it more. But this is the thing I've just noticed with people, is there's quite a split down the middle. There's people who know what they want to create. They don't always know how to create it. And then there's people who just don't know, and they're kind of in no man's land right now, especially now where all this space has been created in our lives and our time, and, you know, we're at home and we have, our schedules have been interrupted, and we're thinking about, why am I really here? And then to not have an answer, it can be really disheartening. And so, yeah, I want to open that up, because for me, the answer is to go into the body to feel more, because people on this planet have stopped feeling. They've lived from here. And the answers to what you're here to create don't come from here.
You know, the first thing you said about people either toughen up or retreat, I was thinking, you know, either way, whether you toughen up like maybe you did, or retreat like I definitely did, they're both different versions of not feeling safe to show up fully as we are in relationship to other people and to the world. The person who's tough is hiding their vulnerable, sensitive heart. They will not show up with that. They will not expose their heart. They will not expose their sensitivity to the world. And those who retreat, you know, they may really indulge a lot in their awareness of their sensitivity, and they might, you know, write poetry in the corner by themselves, but they'll never show it to anybody, you know, or just to maybe one little person who feels safe. But it's like, oh no, you know, it's like this world is not a world that's designed for sensitives. It's not designed for vulnerable feeling hearts, for empathic, sensitive nervous systems. So it's interesting. Your approach has been to go through the body. I think my approach has been more to go through healing, like the wounding of the child. And yet they're not, they both have to connect. They both, because you know, it's the wounding it's the believing that you know, speaking from me, that believing that vulnerable, wounded child is the one who will be exposed, that it's the vulnerable, wounded child who thinks she's supposed to show up and do the work and interface. You know, that's really what it is. It's this illusion that, you know, that part that is so little, so young, so fragile, that we may identify with as who we are from an early age. It's like, if a 5-year-old thinks she has to go out and fight with the energies of this world, or has to come out and promote what she's doing and take risks, well, obviously no 5-year-old is safe doing that. So it's this completely this misidentification of who it is that's really here, that's really available, that who is the one who like what is the role of the body, and what is the role of that sensitive, vulnerable heart, and how do they interface? Well, learning to connect. So, one of the ways I look at things is both grounding in the earth, which is getting more connected to the body. They're almost the same thing, to connect to the earth and to connect to the body. When you do one, the other happens automatically, because you recognize that your body is part of the earth, that your feet are what has to make contact with the earth.
Yeah.
And the energy of the earth fills your body, fills your lower body in particular. And so it's that identification with that mother energy and that solidity and substantiality. Because really, when you're in that fragile, delicate place of retreating from life, part of that is not wanting to be too physical, not wanting to be too incarnated. Like, oh, I'd rather kind of float up here. I'd rather just hang out with the angels, I'm really a spirit. I'm just sort of, well, I kind of have a body because I'm human, but that's not who I really am. And, that's true. I actually agree with that. But that so it's that misidentification that sensitive self is a child, because a child does need protecting. A child isn't safe in a intense, dense reality like we have. But the truth is, that isn't who we are. We aren't really a child. The child is part of us, but there is a much greater, bigger self that contains that child, and that holds that child, and that protects that child. And that self encompasses the physical embodiment, the earthly part of us, and also the spiritual presence, which is the heavenly part of us. And we have both. It's the fusion of those two that makes us the divine human that we came here to be. It's not one or the other. But, for those of us who are identified more with the spiritual side, and the physical part just feels like a very fragile, vulnerable child who's going to get trampled underfoot, it doesn't feel safe to show up. And therefore it doesn't feel safe to bring our gifts out. Doesn't feel safe to follow through and offer anything to the world, because we're so sure we're going to be hurt if we do that.
Yeah, this is it. And this is the wounding through my lens of psychosomatics sits in the base and the sacral area of the body, which is where we connect to the earth. And when we've come into this body in this world and gone, like you said, not sure I want to be here. Do I really want to fully incarnate? This is a gross place compared to where I've come from.
What was I thinking? Why did I agree to be born?
Yeah, I remember just sitting crying on the lawn as a child at night, just saying, can you please take me back? Like, this is, you've taken me to the wrong place. This is a mistake.
Right. And, I made a terrible mistake. Oh my God.
Yeah, and just being way too sensitive for the way the world operates here. And so, I really think that creates wounding in the lower part of the body. And when it's not addressed, we shut off from those creative seeds. So
and it's not addressed. It's not addressed because our parents couldn't address that. Most normal humans can't help a sensitive child who's feeling like they landed on the wrong planet. You're not going to get a lot of support from your environment.
I agree. And I don't think it's been possible to heal that wound until possibly now. This time on the planet, where the energy, the frequency of our earth is changing, and we are having to become more sensitive beings, so that more sensitive part of us can come out more. It's safe to come out slowly. So, and that's what we talked about last week, is the treasure chest, you know, like being able to reveal the heart now. It's time. So it is time to go deeper into the body and realize that the sensitive people we came here to be, it's now time to use those gifts.
Yeah.
And not hide anymore.
What you just said, Natalie, really inspired me, that it probably wasn't possible to really heal that wound until now. And I'm a believer in kind of the master plan, that there is an intelligence guiding this world, this reality. And part of that intelligence and part of that plan is that these huge forces of light get born into human bodies. I call it the, it's like, it's kind of like the sneaking on board planet Earth through baby bodies. It's like having all these forces of light, all these light beings sneaking on the planet by being born into little baby bodies. And then they eventually wake up and remember who they are and why they're here.
Mm.
But in order for that to happen, because this is the time for that, and that's all part of a plan, I believe, it also has to be true that it's finally possible to heal that wound. It's finally possible for highly sensitive, spiritual, light beings to not just wake up to who they are, not just remember, not just feel the response to that call, but to actually learn how to be safe and feel safe, to ground, to embody, to fully incarnate on the planet, because God damn it, I'm here to do something, and I'm going to roll up my sleeves and do it.
Yeah.
And it's like my body is my earth suit. I'm not going to be able to function if I can't be in my earth suit. This is the way I'm going to be able to function on planet Earth. If I want to really contribute to planet Earth, then I have to agree to do it this way, in this body. Because, we have all these these non-physical helpers, right? We have all these guides and angels and off-planet, ascended masters and whatnot, but they're not, they may be sending a lot of light to the earth, but they cannot roll up their sleeves and dig into the earth. They need us as their agents. We are the hands and feet of the divine, and that's why we volunteered to come here and do that. We could have stayed off planet. We didn't have to show up and incarnate. We offered to do that work, which is harder. It's really hard. But we agreed to be a bridge, a conduit, and really, at great personal sacrifice, although I personally think we didn't realize what we were getting into when we said yes.
But we're still here, and I think that is testament to our strength. We're still here.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the fact that this time has started to finally open up and we're being carried forward means, I believe, that this is now this very empowered time for us to heal and for us to just let go of all those old rags of unworthiness and, belief in separation, all these delusions that have kept us bound and limited and sabotaging ourselves. Like, it's time to flush all of that out. And there are going to be, and there are ways, it's easier to do it now. I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to get at. It's easier to do it now. It's going to be easier and quicker. There's more help, because you don't get these things coming together and not have any way to make it happen. You don't have light workers coming onto the planet to do this beautiful transformational work and not have a way to make them empowered enough to do it. And we're all at different stages with that process, but I think it's going to be happening a lot. I think the awakening, the remembering, and the re-empowering ourselves, and and just, getting over the comparisons, getting over the feelings that somehow our gifts aren't as good as someone else's gifts, or it's too scary and dangerous. That's really, I think it's going to go away more and more, because this is the time we were born for, and it's happening now. And we're here. We're the ones. No one else is going to do it for us.
Yeah, and we have to be fully here in our bodies. And this is why I talk about firing up now. Now is the time to fire up your body, heat your body, because when your body has heat moving through it, it means you're standing fully here. If your body's cold or not moving, if you put your hands on certain parts of your body and there's no energy flow there, it means you're not alive with energy. So there's parts of our bodies that have gone dead because we haven't used them. We haven't given them attention. And this is what I see in a lot of people, is a split between their upper body and their lower body, and the heaven and earth part.
Totally.
Yep, I want to be in heaven. I want to live from my rib cage up and experience everything from there. And of course, they become very heartfelt, loving people, but also very depleted, and forget that their seeds of creation are coming from the lower half, because they're the seeds that have to be planted in the earth, in the soil. So that's where often the disillusionment comes from. I don't know what I want to create, because you're not connected to the bottom half of your body. You're operating two separate halves. One's doing one thing, the other one's doing another. You might be standing here right now, but the other part of you is off somewhere else. They're not actually working together in co-creation. And so when we're talking about, now's the time for co-creation and coming together and helping each other, well, if your body's not in co-creation, you're not going to be able to create it out there. Yeah. So you have to cooperate in your own cells and physicality first. And that means you have to feel. And I think now is a time where we're all being pushed to feel more, especially with what is happening on the planet. There's plenty of triggers right now to feel more. And when I say feel more, it could be the full spectrum of emotion. You might feel more sadness, more fun and playful. You might feel grief. You might feel angry. Fear. It doesn't matter what the emotion is. At least you're feeling, which means your body is on the move.
I also think, one of the things that is that's maybe even being enhanced by this process we're in right now, is our partnership with nature, with the earth itself. I agree with you that for most light workers, the bottom half of our body has not been claimed, has not been really accepted and acknowledged. And we have these upper chakras that are like, whoa, really out there, and we can spend a lot of beautiful visionary time experiencing subtle realms, subtle energies. But we could be kind of helpless when it comes to just, doing physical things or ordinary things, or just, I'm not saying all physical things are hard, but more like the practicalities of life, and particularly where it comes to taking something we're doing and offering it to the world, and overcoming those hurdles or those anxieties that, it's a challenge for anyone. It takes doing. There's functionality, there's action, there's pushing through resistance. That's huge. And anything physical, it's like I was an artist. Well, there are my paintings over there. I was a visual artist, and I used to say, God, I wish I could just take the visions in my mind and project them onto the canvas without having to laboriously go through all those weeks and weeks and weeks of making it physical. And there's the physicality is this tedious process of overcoming the resistance of the material. And I say, look, I know that, in other dimensions, it's all done that way. It's all just, you visualize it, there it is. You want to be somewhere, you're there. You don't have to get on a bus and go there. So, damn, it was so much easier in the astral planes, So there's this kind of resentment of how much harder it is to make things happen here at this planet. And that's what we mean by the three-dimensional reality.
Yeah, and it's slow. I think that's the other thing. Like a lot of light beings they're fast, they're high frequency beings. And so
right,
slow it down to this degree.
And we remember, right? We actually remember what it was like to just instantaneously create, manifest, shift, make it happen.
Course, yeah, that's the realm we're going into, is instant manifestation. So that's what 5D is all about, is we're going to remove all the resistance to actually being able to think what we want to create and make it manifest.
But still, it's different making it manifest in a world of physical matter than in a world of subtle substance. Substance, there's no resistance at all.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's this, it's a fascinating thing, because a lot of people probably who are light workers, I think a lot of us do have a kind of subliminal memory, like we kind of know, like all my life I've had this sort of knowing without ever, without necessarily saying, well, I was there. That's why that seems so real to me. That's a memory. That's something I experienced. So it may not register that way. It may just be, I don't know, this is just so frustrating to be in this, having to do everything physically, because I've already created it in my mind. Isn't that enough? Shouldn't that be enough? So that's where this split comes. I've created it in my mind. Yeah, but no one else can receive it if it's just in your mind.
No wonder our earth has been so neglected, because we've neglected this earthly creation aspect of making these brilliant ideas and things, creations, actually manifest in the physical. And especially in our world of technology, a lot of brilliance doesn't actually land on the ground. So we have to be in our bodies now more than ever, and we have to feel full sensation now. And we've been so afraid of feeling sensation because of the trauma of having to come here and live in a harsh world as a sensitive person. So now is the time to shift all of that, gradually let it leave your system and your wiring, so that you can actually stand as a fully embodied soul.
Right. And even if we've had trauma in this physical body as well, not just the trauma of showing up on this planet, but many of us have been subjected to really harsh experiences in this incarnation, and many previous incarnations, of course. But nonetheless, the fact that we were willing to come here and that we knew we had a reason for being here implies that we agreed to, or we need to, embrace the full spectrum of what it is to be on this planet as a spiritual being. The full spectrum, all the chakras, all the dimensions,
all the sensations, yeah.
All the challenges, but the challenges, we have the advantage of having access to the spiritual realms to the degree that we do. We're not in our relationship to the physicality of ourselves and of the planet. We're not cut off from spirit. We bring that with us. We bring that spirit all the way down into the body, into all the cells of our body. So it's not as though we have to choose, like, I want to be in spirit, I don't want to be in the physical. But the physical is a whole different thing when it's irradiated by spirit, when it's illumined by spirit, when it's activated and awakened by spirit. It's a different way of being in the body, just like nature is illumined by spirit, saturated by spirit. And we look with wonder at what comes through all of those forms of beauty. Miraculous, every single one of them, as is our physical body. Miraculous. It's part of what makes this planet so entrancing, so absolutely extraordinary and exquisite, because it has this fusion of spirit and matter that is miraculous.
And if you're a nature lover already, like Tamara and I are, who already weep at the beauty of nature, birds and plants and trees, and we already see the magic of it. The challenge is seeing that in your own body, being able to actually appreciate the magnificence, the miracle, the beauty of your own body. And when we can do that, we are fully here.
And I was just thinking when you said that, what happens when we step more fully into our bodies, into this earth suit that connects us to the earth? It's part of the earth. Our bodies are part of the earth. Then couldn't it be that we experience nature not as an outsider, viewing it through a lens of perception and ideas and feeling like a viewer, like a watcher at a play, but actually as an active participant, actually as a player within the play of nature, within the stage of earth, that we are one of the actors along with the trees and the birds and the flowers. We're not separate. And there's actually a relationship of subtle energies that can flow through our body when we open our vehicle more. And that has to happen through love. That has to happen through acceptance, through willingness to participate, which includes the willingness to experience pain.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good point, because now I believe that humans are being pushed to decide how much they really want to be here for this transition time. You know, so you're going to need your body for this time. So how much do you really want to be here for this transition team, as you call it, Toma, and for the promise of a better world on the other side? But we're going to have to really rise and stand in that and hold that vision for it to happen. It's not just going to happen of its own accord. We have to rise to that. So that's the calling right now. Stand in this vision.
Yes, and I just saw something as you were speaking, Natalie, which is for each of us who recognizes that we answered a call, that we are here because we answered a call, and that we are feeling that call now with probably much greater intensity. What the response to that call needs to be is to challenge ourselves with the question, what is it that stands between me and being willing to fully accept that calling? Is it fear of being hurt? Is it feeling unworthy? Is it doubt that I'll be safe? Is it fear or skepticism that this vision will never happen and I'll be so bitterly disappointed again, yet again? What is it that keeps us from fully stepping in the next? Because we're going to have to do that. We're going to have to break through the veils of resistance. And for each of us, that may be something different, personal to us.
That's beautiful. And the perfect ending to the call today, because I think that's actually leading into what we might talk about next time. What is the call to step into for you? What does that look like? What are you rising into? Because I believe that we are all changing identities. You know, we're having to crack off the old shell of who we once were and allow the new butterfly to emerge. So who and what does that look like? That's a juicy one for next time.
Well, we're all very fortunate to be alive at this time on this planet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
On that note, thank you so much for watching, and we hope you have gained some value and some feel-good vibes from our chat today. We'll share more with you next time, and see you then.
Signing off.